Folksila Guibenar Yala Machuni, Shezovo, Minkawe Dornalam. Suisum.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jupiter at Night. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Hey there, J-Man.
My name is still Jeremy.
I know. My name is still Chris.
We're like 800 episodes in. We haven't changed that.
This is technically our 89th episode of Jupiter at Night. I know. That's actually not bad.
Yeah.
And we thought 89 episodes was a good spot to hit the pause button and say, there's a few ways to interact with us. We realized that this show is doing pretty well and its audience is growing, and maybe some people have joined the ride more recently and don't know.
Right.
There's a lot to cover.
There is.
And we're going to get a little inside baseball on occasion, a little behind the scenes, but hopefully you'll be okay with that and you'll
this episode's going to be a little bit show and telly, but that's also from the point of view that we're probably going to eventually refer back to this one on occasion.
That's what we're thinking. So this one might come across as sometimes a little bit of a how-to, but hopefully it'll stand as a future reference.
So that probably means we should cut the intro and just get straight to the meat.
All right, let's do it. First of all, let's cover how we get the stories into all of our shows.
Yeah.
Because this little bit of information affects every show we do on Jupiter Broadcasting, but of course Jupiter Nights, Tuesday through Thursday, that's 3 nights a week. That means it's going to affect this show the most.
Yeah.
We have kind of a system worked out. The main thing that we have to accomplish, just so you understand the backside of it, is
backside.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all over the place. You got a bunch of hosts on the network for the different shows.
Well, it's the internet.
It's the internet.
Yeah.
We're on our mobile devices at different times. We're on our computers. We need to be able to tag stories as we go. And Google's actually done a really good job of solving this problem. And I'm not always the biggest Google promoter, but I'm not also anti-Google. And I think when they've got something good, you should use it. And we've kind of stumbled upon that. If you want to be involved with the stories that make it into our shows, if you want to suggest stories, or if you want to sort of help vet, and that is extremely appreciated.
Yeah, there's a lot of times we'll be getting into this. It's basically Google Reader, but if we flag a story sometimes that maybe the headline catches our eye and we don't have time to read it, and then we'll get a comment from somebody saying this article is terrible, don't bother.
We're using the whole Google Reader functionality pipeline, and what it does is if there's a system that works out and we tag stories in Google Reader, those make it into a Buzz feed or into a Google Reader feed that then you can comment on and say, the story's bogus, here's the other story that proves it, or hey, I really think this is something you guys should talk about. Did you know XYZ?
Yeah. And
we incorporate that into the show, plus you get a little idea of what's coming up, so you kind of know which ones you want to tune in.
Yeah.
Although hopefully you always
watch all of them, right?
Right. So here's how you do it. The first thing you want to do is follow both the J-Man and myself, and we have links in the show notes. In fact, everything we're talking about today, Jeremy wrote up great details in the show notes.
So really, you don't have to watch us.
You can just read the show notes. But the first thing in there is our Google profiles. And
so this is an example. This is Chris's Google profile and what it will look like if you're logged into Google and not already following him. I had to actually stop following him to give you this demonstration. So if you go up here, it's real. How much more simple can you get than that?
Big blue button.
Bam.
You hit that. And now
you are now following Chris.
Now you will follow my Google Reader feed. Now follow the same link and go follow the J-Man. And when we comment on stories or tag stories in there, you can see the people that you're following. You'll be able to see our stories. And there's actually a really great way to pump stories into Reader. So if you're browsing your websites that you love that aren't even in Reader, say, but there's a good story, if you go into the shared items in Google Reader, and if you're watching the video version right now, you see the J-Man's got a little note and Reader link there.
If you just pick this up and drag it up to your toolbar, anywhere you want it, and then whenever you come across an article on the internet, you click that bookmarklet, and a little window will pop up.
Hey, I'll give you a demo. So let's say I'm over here on a Reddit website, and there's a story that I want to tag for the Linux Action Show. I can now use that little note in Reader link, and it generates this little pop-up that comes up. And this pop-up, you can tile
with any browser, by the way. This isn't like Chrome specific.
No, it's just JavaScript.
Yeah.
So any browser does JavaScript, and even your mobile browser. And I can put in here, and I can put like a little, hashtag LAS, hashtag Reddit, hashtag Android, right?
Sure.
And then I say post item. That goes into Google Reader, which also goes into Buzz. And now folks can comment and say, oh yeah, I've downloaded this app. I love it. But the other thing is I can see the people that have shared those things. So like you out there, if you note those things in Reader.
These are all people from our audience that I follow. Most people don't actually post their own stuff, but I've got like 3 or 4 folks that regularly post articles that I'm following that we may use in future shows.
Yeah. So when people follow us, we get a notification, we follow you back, and then we can sort of browse through the best news feeds out there. Yeah, we're essentially crowdsourcing our news, but the idea is we have limited resources.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And we kind of want to, I don't want to say we want to Wikipedia our news approach, but a little bit of using the internet genius out there, we can at least catch some of the obvious stuff. Well, there's been some stories that we don't want to cover because they're wrong, and you guys can help us catch those.
Yeah, well, and plus, I mean, we want to do the show that people are going to find interesting.
Yeah.
What better way to find stuff that's interesting than actually ask you what's interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that's the news portion of our shows. We've got a whole lot of more ground to cover, including contact information and things like that. But
we've got actually really old school ways to contact us.
That's true.
I mean, if you don't subscribe to the Google's way of life, that's true. That's cool. I know there's people out like that out there. Yep. What if you want to call us and leave us a voicemail?
Totally would be awesome, actually.
Yeah. We've got 2 different ways that you can leave us voicemail. There's an actual landline, long distance, obviously, if you're, outside of our area.
Yeah.
That just goes to a Google Voice voicemail.
Yeah.
And then you can Skype in as well.
Yeah.
And we've got those information. I don't want to just spout off the phone number. Nobody's going to remember. So check the show notes if you want that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about something fun that I added just today to the Jupiter Broadcasting website that sort of inspired this whole how to get in contact with us show. I realized today we did an interview with Storm Shade, the community representative over at Cryptic Studios.
Yeah, for our other show, Stoked.
Yeah, in episode 69. And thankfully, usually when you do an interview, that gets some press coverage, and we did get some press coverage. And so we got a lot of traffic coming to our site. A lot of people all of a sudden were on our website at once this morning. And I have some, analytics that tell me how many people are active on the site. And I thought, it's so crazy to me that all of these people are on our website and don't even know that each other are there.
Yeah.
You've got, X amount of people watching the same video at the same time, and it'd be so cool if people could interact. And we've already got a live IRC chat room that we use for every single show.
Right.
So if we could bridge those 2 together, wouldn't that be awesome? And it was like, oh, come on, dummy. It's so simple.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of videos now.
It is so simple. What took you so long?
I don't know. I really don't know. At the bottom of videos now at jupiterbroadcasting.com, just below the video, there's going to be a really discreet pop-out live chat link. And if you click that, it's exactly that. It'll either open up in a new tab or a pop-up window, and it's an embedded version of our live IRC chat room, and you can chat with other folks that are watching that same episode that you are.
Now, on the subject of IRC, that pop-out uses a web-embedded thing called Mibbit that it's all right. For a web-embedded chat system, it's pretty okay.
If you're watching an episode, it's good for while you're watching the episode.
But I have a whole bunch of links in our chat note or in our show notes to direct you to independent IRC clients that will really improve your experience if you want to join us in the live chat room.
We're hanging out right now 8 o'clock at night, and there's 107 folks in our live chat room. Sometimes, that can go into the couple of hundred numbers during live shows and things like that. So it's always an active place regardless of live show or not, but it's nice that it's there, and now you can interact with other folks that are watching the shows.
So again, if you want a good IRC client, I've got different options for Mac, Linux, and Windows, as well as all the contact information that you will need, all in the document. And
including email links for all the different shows.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how to email the show, how to email Lotso, how to email Jupiter Nite, they're all right there.
Another thing that's I want to point out, it's kind of important in the IRC section. A lot of people that join our chat room want to set up and register their own nickname. I always lose this link. That is a Geek Shed tutorial. The Geek Shed is the folks that host
IRC.
Right, so that's in our doc as well.
Nice.
Now, future Jeremy, when you lose the link, this is where you find it, okay? Dumbass.
I like those are all really good. I think you picked probably the best IRC clients for all of the various platforms.
Yeah.
So those are good links to IRC clients. Let's talk about something fun. Something that we're starting up now. So we talk about these live. We do these shows live all the time. That's kind of something that we've probably said a billion times. And there's a lot of things that happen live that just don't make it into recordings for lots of different reasons. And
usually because we forget to hit the record button.
Or we're done and we just keep going.
Sure.
But the cool thing is for the last couple of months, we've been streaming live on Justin.tv, and Justin.tv always is recording.
Yep.
And they've added the ability to go in there and highlight clips of the always on recording of the live stream, and now you can port them over to YouTube. So we've launched a new YouTube channel of the backstage Jupiter Broadcasting Live stuff that never makes it into a show, stuff that we wouldn't necessarily publish on our mainstream, stuff that might not always be polite.
Yeah, it might be a little off color at times.
So if you want to see this, you can go over to youtube.com/Jupiter Backstage, and that's our new YouTube channel. And right up there, we have a couple episodes ago, and last Brian took a swig of Sprite
and inhaled it.
Yeah, and inhaled it into his lungs.
Yeah,
and we've also got a few of our favorite outtakes from the different shows.
Now, all of those clips on there, I believe, have been submitted by viewers.
Yep. Galactics and Admiral Murphy have definitely been our top contributors,
and your wife Angela as well. So this is a crowdsourced project again. It's not something that we're taking on ourselves, but it's another tool for you guys to take ownership of not only this show, really. Since it's on the live stream, it's the entire network.
Yeah.
Anything that we do, which is everything that we do.
Yep. Any show that you like, you can always go back on the Justin.tv and see the last few hours of the live stream. So if you miss something, you can catch that.
It's recorded in 2-hour chunks, and I believe that they stay up for about like a day and a half.
Yeah, unless they get highlighted, and if somebody highlights a section, that section saves. And then once somebody highlights something, and somebody finds something they thought was funny that didn't make it into a show, and they highlight it, we can port it over to YouTube, and then people that are subscribed get the
Now, as for how to highlight, actually, again, Angela did a section on her faux show last week. Tonight. And I actually went into Justin TV today and highlighted her faux show section to show you how to highlight.
So what he's trying to say is in the show notes, we have a link with a video tutorial on how you can go find...
It's a highlight to show you how to highlight.
On our live stream. So that's kind of neat. Use that as you wish. The other things that are also new, very early getting off the ground, but we have links in the show notes, is we're experimenting with establishing a wiki, because we know getting sort of your hands around all the different information we're going to cover, and especially on this show, because we cover so much stuff so frequently.
Yeah. And some things end up being recurring topics, and maybe those might warrant being included on our Wikipedia.
Yeah. So we're working on that. We've also got a link in there to Jupiter Broadcasting's Tumblr page. This is really an unofficial, infrequently updated blog of behind-the-scenes events, with sometimes some anecdotes like pictures of my son, or notes sent in by our audiences that are listening to our shows. This is if we have his Twitter handle on here. He sent it in after listening to our Arch special on Linux Action Show. Here's our notes. After listening to Linux Action Show, don't use Arch. Read the documentation. Don't try Arch, but then try Arch. That's exactly our instructions, and he noted them well and sent them in. So that went up on the Tumblr page.
Yep.
And so we've got a link to that in the show notes as well.
Now, we just have one last thing to cover with you, because this is another brand new thing that we're going to try out moving forward. You know, many of you that watch live, and some of you that don't, know that after almost every show that I'm on, I do like an after party. Yeah. Which is just basically me and whoever else might be around. You join later on after the show's edited. Just hanging out. Partying. Sometimes playing video games. Sometimes just chatting with the live stream. It's all just...
Sometimes it's group psychology sessions.
Yeah. Sometimes you learn a little more than you should.
It's generally video games, though.
Yeah. But anyway, on Thursdays, we're actually going to start structuring it. Every Thursday night, you know, that's our looking towards the weekend, our last show of Jupiter Nite for the week. Every Thursday after the show, from now on, starting tomorrow, we're going to do a live call-in session via Skype only. I'm not going to have a phone on my head. That's just too old school for me.
We do have a Skype number we could give out during the show where people could call from a landline. But
why are you making this complicated?
Well, what I'm saying is we'd like people to use Skype because we'd like to see their video.
Yes, video is preferred, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, this first one that will be held tomorrow after the show will be free for all. Anything that we've talked about on any show for anything with Jupiter Broadcasting. Just be interesting, be entertaining.
It'll be fun. Plus episodes.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to move to a more of a structured approach on the call-ins, so that it'll be anything we've covered that week. So that Thursday, you can call in after the show, and anything at all that was discussed. And we're not going to necessarily... Well, we haven't quite decided. Depending on the calls, we might work them into a future episode of Jupiter at Night.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
You know, it depends on the topic.
See, and this goes back to some other things we've discussed tonight. We've got the Justin TV highlighting. Since these live calls will be on Justin TV, if it's worth saving for a future segment to play, we'll highlight it for that. If it's just worth saving to share, it'll be on the Jupiter Backstage thing. I mean, probably it'll be on there. I'm pretty much... sure that's going to happen. But so this is just another way that you guys out there, our community, our audience, can again take ownership of the content of the show and
get more. Because I know sometimes I would say the number one piece of feedback we get about Jupiter Nite is that it's too short.
Yeah.
And the length of Jupiter Nite does vary from about anywhere from 10 minutes to about 20 minutes. And we try to stay cognizant of the fact that it's a daily show that folks might want to try to download in the morning quickly. So the length impacts the size. And also, it's a lot to take every day, so we don't want to make it too long. So if you feel like
there's only so much of us that you can take.
But if you feel like for some reason there's more you might be able to take, those live stream highlights like the youtube.com/Jupiter Backstage, things like that are going to be even more, and they're just going to keep growing, and the more participation we get, the bigger and larger it'll even get then.
You know what? And I want to start the ball rolling here because there's actually a kind of a, during Stoked, we do a community feedback segment on occasion where we ask the audience for their feedback on a specific topic.
Yeah.
We actually have that kind of a thing going on tonight because before the show, you and I were sitting here and trying to figure out a better solution to collaborative document editing.
Right now we use Google Docs, and he could be somewhere and I can be on the other side of the world, but we can compose the show notes together at the same time and mark links. And then the other nice thing is with some definite juggling, you can take that and make it into some sort of web
But that juggling is what we would like to try to overcome because basically we've got two things going against us. Google Docs doesn't have a very good export method to HTML, and WordPress doesn't really like Google, apparently.
Yeah. It loses the formatting horribly when you bring the two together.
So he spends an extra 10 to 15 minutes for every single episode just cleaning up our show notes, which for a show that with this kind of show notes, that's a job.
Yeah. So we're wondering, do you know of a tool that would allow somebody to work with maybe one or two other folks and edit the same document at the same time that would support hyperlinks and bolding and just basic formatting, and then exports nice, clean HTML that would go right into a WordPress post or something like that? If you know of a tool like that that's not Google Wave, because, it's not very useful right now, and it isn't so Zoho Office because we've been having troubles with that.
Yeah. The collaborative side of it is a little hit and miss.
But if you've got a suggestion, we would love to hear it. So let us know. You can use any of the methods we just covered to let us.
In fact, the absolute best way that I would love to see is you guys call in tomorrow, Thursday, after the show.
And tell us a story.
If you can't stay up late and join us live, then there are a million different methods that you can use in our show notes to contact us. Or just, leave a comment wherever you're watching this.
And if you want to call in on the Skype or on our phone number and leave a voicemail, we listen to every single voicemail. And if you leave us a great, awesome, epic, compelling voicemail, you're almost guaranteed it's going to make it its way into a future episode of Jupiter Nite.
It'll probably be a future episode of Jupiter Nite.
Whoa.
I'm counting on the fact that there are people out there that are far smarter and more eloquent than both of us combined.
Well, that's almost a given. All right, I think we've covered just about all of the information we wanted to get out there.
Yep.
Now that we've got that all out there, we can move forward maybe to another set of 80 or 90 episodes before we need to cover all this stuff again.
Let's hope.
And by then it'll probably all be changed anyway. That's just going to be based on your feedback, so use those methods to let us know and let you know what you like and don't like, and we'll keep working on it. And you can tune in live, like we've mentioned, over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/live, Tuesday through Thursday. Or on Friday night this week, we won't have Jupiter Nite, but it'll be Lotso.
Yep.
And then Saturday is Stoked, and then Sunday is Linux Action Show. It's a party. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching this episode of Jupiter Nite. We hope you found some of this information helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow night.